Hello. So, I'm doing. Is it part five? It probably is. Uh, I know that like no one will probably watch the part five because it's kind of like too much investment. But hey, I need to do it anyway. So it's a part five of trying to write React Server Components framework using Go on the backend. So the idea is that what you see before you, right? So it has like a search and a new, right? So there is an edit button that has text new. If I write something else, uh, okay, didn't work. What is going on? Uh, okay, so search working. So search 1, 2, 3, save, restart. Okay. Uh, so all of this code is authored in Go. So uh, it's written in this like hyperscript form where you write um, tag name, then props and children. If you can have like you can have custom tag names, so it works more like a JSX, right? So it doesn't have to be built in. And I also have islands that allow me to do kind of like um, client side code as well. Okay. Yeah, I wonder if that's. I wonder if that's why wasn't working, right? Because I don't use the title apparently. It should be here. And now if I change it here, yeah. So I don't have HMR, which is I don't have any like the JavaScript setup is actually like pretty interesting because I don't use bundlers, I don't use anything, and it's a funny setup where I just use like import maps, and it's not like the fastest one, but it's the simplest infrastructure wise. So I wanted to try that. So anyway, so you do write it in Go, which has its own kind of like hi, which has its own things, right? So you can do something like that. I think, yeah. So like it crashed. So and yeah, if you try to write like true, it will have like some errors and warnings. So it's like there are like some things that you have to kind of like keep in mind in terms of this is like uh not the easiest thing to keep track of because you're not writing React, you're writing something that should be compatible with React, but there are like no real tools yet to to make it easy. Um, but we can do crazy stuff, right? So we can do client components, we can do uh, all of the a lot of the things that you would expect, like routing and stuff. So if uh, hmm, I think my hydration script has been not working right now. Okay. I've been rewriting my serialization logic. I was looking at how um, I think it's called React Server Webpack, whatever that is, right? So React Server DOM Webpack server and like Webpack client. So this is a library that does all the kind of like serialization, deserialization over the wire. It's quick function serialization unique. Uh, yeah, quick is pretty unique. They do a lot of different things. So um, you can do most of the quick stuff manually, right? So, like the way that I like to talk about quick is that uh, in web development, if you do server and client at the same time, you are at the choice of, am I running the same app twice or am I running two separate apps? Because this thing about like, oh, next.js is like so hard to hydrate, it requires so many cycles and kilobytes and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, if you use PHP, there's no problem in hydrating because there's no hydration step, right? You write one application on the server and you write different application on the client. So there is no step of like rerunning client application because like you haven't run it before on the server. So we know that like writing two apps, like one in PHP, right, one in jQuery, solves hydration because there is no hydration then. Hydration, there are like two ways of looking at hydration. So one definition of hydration is just like specifically for isomorphic apps that can run on server and a client. Hydration is a step of rerunning the same application on the server to get, in kind of like to get to run. Yeah, so you have run it on the server, it generated HTML. Now the hydration is rerunning the same application on the client to get the same result. So it's like it's just to kind of like reinitialize it. It doesn't actually like change anything in terms of rendering. And that's like one way of thinking of hydration. The other way of thinking of hydration is like I go to the page and the page is interactive, so it's like it's hydrated. Well, maybe it's like it's not hydrated. Like hydration is like the wrong word. Maybe it's just interact, like became interactive. I don't know. Like people don't have like a good word for that because like in React, you call like hydrate root to uh, with React Server components, you call function called hydrate root, but it doesn't do hydration. It runs like a different application than the one that you run on the server. So it's maybe it's the same. I don't know. It's a tricky question. So quick is basically uh, okay. Oh, you were alive, Ryan live with yeah nitro stuff. Yeah, so I think um, okay, let me finish the quick thing first. So what Quick does is they generate basically they take the same code and they create two separate apps, one for client and one for server. Uh, they don't see it this way, but and that's like one way of thinking about it. And in some sense, like React Server components do this, do kind of like similar stuff. So they do different job on the server than they do the job on the client, and this way you don't do hydration, right? Because you're not running the same app, you're running some different app, and uh, Quick is like one way of doing it. Like PHP and jQuery is the other way of doing it. So um, I don't know. Like I feel like Quick is a fun idea, but I'm still skeptical if they can solve kind of like everything because I don't think they use their servers kind of like enough. If Quick could have implemented something like React Server components, but they didn't. And I think using Quick technology, you can build like a better meta framework. So it's like Quick is good. You can probably create like a better Quick city on top of Quick that will work more like Live View or React Server components, all that stuff. And that's a framework that I want to see. The Quick city, I don't think it has like too wide of a use. I don't know. Like we will see. Yeah. So in terms of Nitro, I followed like this whole like, hey, let's be friends with Astro. And Tanner tried to do his 10 stack start, and Ryan tried to do solid start on Astro. I think what they kind of like are fighting with is that Astro is a bit kind of like higher level than what they need, and they once they once they turn off everything from Astro, right, so that they can use this lower level stuff, it's like, why are we even doing it in Astro, right? So it's like Astro has its own like plugin for Markdown, so like our plugin for Markdown doesn't work anymore. Astro has its own way of doing like this or that, or like they when you import images, they import like an object instead of like just a URL. So it's like, I think all of those things were getting in their way, and they could have been a cool plugin for Astro, or they just needed to use like a bit lower level tool to get what they actually needed. And I think it makes sense for them to do that. I think this idea of like having just like a cool plugin for Astro is still a good thing. So that's basically what B2B SaaS Kit is, right? So B2B SaaS Kit is it's just a plugin for Astro. So you can build your application kind of like in Astro way, which is not as low level as they need with Astro and stuff. Um, yeah. Uh, You should opt out there. Yeah, so they started like one of the first demos that I saw of 10 stack start was like using like Astro for real. Yeah, we're talking about solid start. I think they didn't announce it like too publicly yet, but they're moving to from Astro. So they had their own kind of like infrastructure built on Vite, similar to Vite plugin SSR, I guess. They tried to move everything to Astro. They have had like a branch. I used that like beta version of it to play with it and all that stuff. And now they're moving to new architecture on Nitro, the same application that uh, Next is using. So yeah, I was just saying that like the Astro path sounds fun until you realize how much Astro does. And to get everything completely compatible with like previous versions of Solid Start, you would have to do a lot of things to kind of like to turn enough things from Astro off. And once you get there, you will have some performance issues because of like some Astra overhead, or like because you use like request response API that is like not as fast as like the Node APIs and all that stuff. So like they tried it, it almost worked. So they had a chance to do something like B2B SaaS Kit, right? So it's like it's a framework on top of Astra that does full stack, and they're like, no, this is not what we want to kind of like do. We want to do something that is like just like solid framework, right? And I think that can like make sense. I don't think they too publicly announced that yet. Yeah, but it's happening. I think they already have I know that they have a branch. I don't know if they have like a version deployed yet, so like I haven't looked at that. Um, Yeah, so the idea was to like, hey, can we use Astro? Can we make Bling a kind of like a independent part? Can we maybe like merge routers and stuff? And I think most of those questions were answered with no. So I think it looks at this moment again like I'm not part of like any of the development teams, so this is just how it looks from the outside. It looks like Bling is going to be kind of like 10 stack thing. So it's going to be like a plugin that is mostly going to be used in 10 stack start. And Solid is creating their own their own APIs, their own kind of like packages. It's possible that they will merge it, but I think there is like a bit like API difference that they uh, so there is a possibility that the project are going to be separate, and because Tanner needs like these features and Ryan needs like those features, and those are like not that big of a projects, I think. So like they can afford to be separate projects. So yeah, but it's also possible that maybe there's going to be like two versions of Blink. There's going to be like Blink Core and Blink Tanner Blink. I don't know. So I don't have like any details on that, but I see that there's a bit of like API kind of like disagreement in terms of what's happening. 10 stack start. Yeah. So don't know. I don't know what's happening with 10 stack start now. Uh, so okay, so this is router. Uh, I don't even remember what. Uh, okay, so it used to be. I think it used to be in router. Yeah, so Bling was last touched like a half a year ago, right? And as far as I know, this is like the only application that uses Blink in production. And this is Astro with Solid and Blink. And yeah, so Blink is not moving. The router is moving, and they had examples, and it was called Start. It's not that Start. Uh, uh yeah, so I'm not entirely sure. And packages, start, React Start. Okay, yeah. So okay, so it was touched, and it's using Astro for now. Okay, so I think 10 stack start is still on Astro and it's still kind of like the same architecture. So it's like 10 stack start is Astro and Blink, and Ryan I think went for a bit more like performance and uh, less wrappers, I guess, and yeah, and tries out Nitro right now. They are switching to Bond. So who is switching to Bond? This one I don't know. I know that uh, Tiki Dodo. I don't remember what's his real name. Dominic, yeah. So Dominic is. I know that he's like going through their repos and like trying to use like Bond for testing and stuff. Uh, yeah. So that's going to be that's going to be fun, and yeah, I think it makes sense. So it's like when was my first video about Bond? Yeah, I think they kind of it used to be
Hey,
like one of the first videos that you see in search. Uh, yeah, so March 2022. So it was a year and a half ago, right? So year and a half ago, I started using I started using Bun, and yeah, I think I did like stream after that. So I have uh an LTT hoodie, like the before, yeah. I was streaming from home back then, so I was streaming at like 2 a.m., but it was much warmer there. um, okay, so going back to the thing. Uh, so I started using Bond pretty early. I don't remember what version it was, right? So like Zig is whatever, like Zig is 0 point something, Bond is like 0 point something, and it was clear that the bundler and the runtime didn't work back then, but the package manager was, and I think testing took a few more months after that. So the package manager started working first. Then they added tests. Then they added uh, like workspace support in Bond, which didn't work for my project. So it was like still a thing, and I haven't tested the 1.0 for my monorepo. Um, so what was next? Yeah, the bundler was pretty recent. I think like the runtime. Yeah, so Jared did talk at VidConf saying like, "Hey, we were going to add Veep support by the conference date, but I guess it will be like a few weeks later." And it took like a year from that point for them to support Veep. And I think just recently they started to support some SSR frameworks, and I don't remember if like Solid works or not. I think Solid works in SSR as well. Yeah. So like I remember like how kind of like every step of the way was happening, and I was like, oh, I can use Bond in more places. Oh, I can use Bond in more places, and it's definitely uh I can definitely see like if you have CI that is running tests and it's like, oh, I can run my CI 10 times faster. Why wouldn't I? And it's a Pink Ban website. Yeah, that was a bit cringe. And I have it on like my thumbnail, so like no one knows what that is anymore. So okay, I missed what I was going to say. So yeah, at some point you're like, okay, I can remove or rewrite like 5% of my tests and get 10x like performance improvements. Why wouldn't I? Right. So it's like it's funny for me how yeah. So it's like people are saying, "Oh, I'm not going to use Bond until it's 100% compatible with everything that is happening on Node." And it's like, okay, should I stop using other programming languages until they're 100% compatible with Node? It's like, what kind of argument is that? So it's uh, at some point you're like, oh, it's not like Vite is not compatible with that package. It's like it's this package is not compatible with Vite, right? So it's like at some point it's like, oh, it's not Bond that is not compatible with, I don't know. It was like this test or something. This test is not compatible with Bond. I should just rewrite my test to make sure that it runs on Bond and get like all the stuff, or it's just I need to um, do my monorepo differently or whatnot, right? So it's I think that I think I understand why Jared wants to be 100% compatible and why Jared doesn't say the things that I say, but I can say the things that I say. It's like I think it makes sense if you're working on a project and you're like, oh, I can rewrite that in Dino, I can rewrite that in Bond, and I can like make sure that it works there uh, as as a real platform, right? As people who are like writing Go and they need to make sure that it runs in like tiny Go, right? So it's like I can write whatever the other ones is. Yeah, I mean, I remember like Scala used to have like a lot of problems of like, oh, we changed like this thing a bit, like now everything has to be updated. so, so yeah, I guess like view package, right? If I'm writing a view package, do I make sure that it works in view 2, or do I just like only care about view 3? And it's like, do I make sure that it works in view 3, or I also make sure that it works in like in Next 2 or Next 3 and so on? So it's like, it's definitely it's definitely like Nux 3 could make something to be more compatible with Nux 2. Or I can make my package more compatible with Nux 3 or Nux 2, right? So it goes both ways. And I think people who are, oh, I'm just waiting for it to be 100% compatible are going to be like the miserable ones, right? So people are all going to be like, oh, this is a new tool I can just use if I like use it right. Yeah, Python. Yeah, the Python is like every time I have a Python script and it runs, I'm just like, wow, this never happened before. How can I run a Python script and it works? This is I only had to install it through Brew or whatever. Like I only jumped through like through 10 hoops and it works. This is like unbelievably unbelievably compatible. But yeah, uh, yeah, I don't know if I know that like Solid Start added bun adapter, right? So and I don't know if they have one for Astro, but maybe they do. What is it? Integrations? I never know where to look for it. It's probably like an Astro docs, and I hate that getting started is opening. It's a new tab. Yeah, so like Dino, right? So they have Dino and they have all the other frameworks. So right, so right now they don't have like a specific bond framework. You just use Node, and at this moment, I don't think you're winning anything by using bond specific stuff. It's where you can use, uh, yeah, I don't know. I think that, yeah, I don't know if there's something like specific yet, but you can Bonix Astro and like it works and all that stuff. So uh, and again, for all those people who's like, why are you hating Node? Yeah, I started hating Node in 2009, so it's like I think I think all of you guys are like too late for the party, so I don't have to. I don't think have to think about it too much. Okay, so, can I interest you in a Elysia? No, I think yeah, I think the thing about like um I don't remember what was the like the first Bond like server framework. Yeah, it was like more than a year ago. And it was like I think there were like a couple and then, like one of them was just like it would just support Bond and like a lot of them was just like you can run it on Dino, you can run it on Node, and I think that's the kind of like right way, right way of going about it. And yeah, so they don't have Elysian Node, so I don't know if it's like Bond only. Yeah, I don't really care. Hopefully, I will not have to use like Node on a backend too much, or like JavaScript on the backend, right? So like, so speaking of not using Node on the backend, so here's the thing about like those about this framework, right? So I start with I guess it's like a main function, right? So I start with main function, and when I get the request, I just go to where am I here, right? I just go and call this render to string function, and this function is going to return me uh, HTML. So it turns this completely kind of like Go component. I call it component. It like I'm really bad at design in general, but like designing it in a language that like I don't have like any idea how to do like proper patterns. It's pretty hard. So I will have to get someone who's familiar with Go just to help me with like APIs and stuff because like should I use dot things on for import? Like if I don't, like it looks even uglier. So I will figure something out. So the idea is that uh, I can create my application in this syntax, which is like not the only syntax. There was this uh, a h sample, yeah. So there are like build steps in Go, so you can like author your uh, yeah, this one. Yeah. So you can author your code in like this JSX kind of like style and just have a build step that converts those like dot something files into dot go files. That's how like in Go and Elixir we have this EEX, I think, template. Uh, So you're gonna have this like you're gonna have this syntax, and you're gonna have like EEX files, and you just like compile them to Elixir or Erlang, and uh, that's like pretty pretty much a similar idea. So I can add this kind of like syntax or whatnot kind of like later if I have everything else working. So I don't worry about this too much. I'm like not excited to learn about parsers and stuff, but uh, I'm writing it specifically in this syntax so that it's kind of like compatible. Uh, and if if I have Go code that can generate HTML, presumably that's going to be like pretty fast, and then I can reinvent React, right? So like just like add every feature in React that exists, and then I can use it. So like the feature that I'm working on right now is like server side suspense. So when I have this navigation, it shows those uh, shimmery whatever uh, skeletons, right? So it shows this skeleton, and this skeleton is something that we got from like a fallback property on the component. And you see that like I'm using this function as a component as like a tag name instead of like this is like a uh, primitive tags, but this is like some some function, right? Um, So I can do this and I can pass this fallback thing, but then I can create some async function that is going to be kind of like resolved later. And I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do all of this yet, but but it's a I don't know, it's a fun exercise to figure it out. And I reworked the way that I'm serializing and like rendering components right now. I made it a bit closer to how React works, and I haven't committed that yet. So like this is going to be like the first. So how do you want to handle the client side JS stuff? Oh, you mean just service components? Okay. So let me. I don't know how I can do that properly. So let me just do this. So I will there are like two files that I don't want to commit yet, and I should probably just like remove them. um, okay, three files now. Okay, that's not good. Uh, okay, so let's just say that this is like a work in progress. So if I go back to uh, yeah, if I go back to this one, I need to restart it. I don't know how to write it perfectly, so it's like it restarts by itself. So oops. Um, so I have this, and I say hello. It's like so. I added delay so that like the longer the string, the like the more the delay. So if I just like write e, it's kind of like instant. Uh, I guess I need to write something that is like not there. Okay, so for that x, it's like you see that. So you see this search, and this is the client component. So if I go to like DevTools and stuff, I can see that it's uh, where is it? Search field, right? So it's a form that like input has like on change and all that stuff. So it's like it's a completely proper client on my like strike.fly.dev. Like I have a counter, right? So this is a client component, and the fun part about it is search field. So the fun part about it is that I take this code from Facebook example. I remove their router and I just use my router, which is at the moment it's just like a global variable. It's silly, but it works. So I will. It's actually like cool when you have a hook because it shows you how the client components and all of that works. I wasn't too bothered to do that. So at the moment it's just like a global function, but this is a completely client component, and I just load it through. I just load it from whatever the. Okay, can't click on this for some reason. Again, let me restart it. Search field. Okay, right. So okay, so the fun part is like it's not JSX, right? It was compiled. So I just took bun and I just like transpiled that file into this form. And the fun part is that I only need to do it once, right? So I can remove this file. It's just like I don't have to like author this file. I can just like use this one, and because it's like it's not that crazy, right? So like I used to use React without JSX for a long time, so it's like yeah, just JSX with form and props and all that stuff. So it's like it's really similar to how I write it in Go right now. So it's like it's not a huge jump. It's just like, yeah, just write your files like that and write your Go files like that. Yes, you can add like some compile step to have JSX in Go or JSX in JavaScript, but you don't have to. So like this app, it just downloads React from CDN, just like downloads, like imports those islands, right? So like search field or whatnot. It just imports those islands from ES import, and it works. So I want to kind of like keep this like thinking. Okay, it's interesting that like this file and this import are like in a I don't know if they can do that in like TypeScript, right? I think in TypeScript it checks that you have like all your imports in one place, but here it's just like, yeah, it's fine. How are you putting your client components inside your Ghost or components? Okay, so the first part of this is like I don't, but search failed, right? I should like rename them at like a lowercase thing. It just I don't know how to write Go yet. So this is how it works. So I have this island function, and I just basically give the name of the file, right? Or not the file, but like the component, and it's just I hope that that component exists. I hope there someone implemented it on the client side. So this is where, like in React, you would have like import search field from something, right? And it's like if you can't import it, or like if you can import it, that then this component exists. In my case, it's you can think of it just as kind of some kind of like global registry. And I don't do lazy splitting yet and all that stuff. It's like I don't know how many like optimizations I'm going to do, because it's like, yeah, you can do that. So it's like I don't want to, make it kind of like too production ready or too is the form in the line 146 duplicated? 146. Yes. So this is like the trick, right? So if I remove this and if I just like save it like that, so like you don't get anything on the initial load first, but then when the island is hydrated, it will render stuff. So I can write something there, or I can write like loading, right? Okay, I think it didn't work. Okay, yeah, so loading, and then it shows up. So this is like this is the part of like, are you writing two apps or are you running the same app twice? So here, what I could do is I can write some kind of like SSR function and just like pass it the I guess like maybe like this, right? SSR this island. So I can remove all of this stuff and just like write V8 or whatever thing. It's like, oh, take this island, pass it this props, render it into a string in JavaScript, and like I will use that string. Or I can just ignore that part and say this is optimization. So I don't care about optimizations yet. Because a lot of people do that. So it's like there's this framework called bot. That's basically like why I like think about this stuff now. It's you can think of it as a next.js where get server side props is implemented in React, which is not the it's not like the best thing, right? And they use V8, so they don't use the whole node, so it's going to be slightly faster, I guess, but like more incompatible. So trade-offs, right? um, and there is another one called Rabbit. Uh, this one, I think. So it's doing the same thing in Rust, right? So it's like it's calling uh, it's sending some kind of like data, and it calls render to string inside of JavaScript. So it's like you're still using V8, so you're not using the whole node, so it's going to be like a bit faster probably. But you also like your connection is not handled by Node; it's handled by Rust, so maybe it's going to be faster. So you can do that. So it's kind of like, instead of like Vite plugin SSR, you just do this, and you can do that, but it's not as interesting as like as like writing everything in Go. Yeah, and it's like right now it's like disabled, which is what I wrote here. It's not there in the client. It's like if I change some kind of class, right? This is like, oh, it's just like out of sync now, and it's like my problem to make sure that they are in sync. But for some projects, it's fine to show a loading spinner, right? You could just have something like SSR React plugin Go. Yeah, I could, but I don't care. So this is more like uh, this is in a sense more like uh, how do I say it? I wonder what I want to say. So, uh, yeah, I will not go there. It's like a whole other discussion. But I could add this. I could. What I don't want to do is to call render to string from React, because I think that's a bit silly. So it's like, if if you're actually rendering everything through React, like, why are you even doing that, right? So it's like, I know that for something like Bot or something like Rabbit, it actually like probably makes sense to do that, but I want to try completely the opposite. So this is just like the goal that I set. That it's the point is that you could make your page as fast as Go, and then all the slow stuff you could put in streaming. So it's like, uh, if I have my kind of like SSR process in JavaScript, so it's like, I want to try bond, right? So it's like, so I have like a bond process that can do as SSR, and if it's slow, then just like this part of the page is going to be slow, and if it's taking more than something seconds, I just fall back to just like client rendering or something. So it's like, there there are like things how to make it more performant and all of that stuff, but the basic point is that you're writing, it's kind of like Astro. You have like your .astro files and your .tsx files. So this is like my .astro file. So it's like, I'm writing my application in Go, but because I use React higher level, I have router. So every time I type something here, I'm changing my route, and I'm not using like view transitions or something like that, right? I'm using React to perform all of those route changes, but I'm using, going back to that, like running app twice. It's like, I'm using just Go on the back end, and I'm using just React on the front end. So I don't have this problem of like, well, I technically do, but like, let's imagine that I don't. I don't have that problem of like running the application twice. I have like two separate applications. So one is client only and one is server only. So it's like in a sense, it's like a simpler model to follow and all that stuff. So what I'm not going to get is that like, oh, Clerk added React server components like authorization, so I can just like import their component and it will like do everything. Like, it's not going to work, right? Because like, I don't have like React server for React server components to work. But if I have I don't know, like a chart library, right? It will work. So again, all of those questions are kind of like bigger questions that I don't have like solutions yet. But I have this like nice spinner, right? That is done through React Suspense and all that stuff. And uh, yeah, so it's like HTMX. It's like HTMX, but with kind of like different trade-offs, right? So like, I do my kind of like logic on the server, but I I use kind of like React to drive all of that stuff instead of HTMX. Yeah, and I want to try like different backends. So it's like, I want to try like Rust or Zig on a backend and just see kind of like how different that is. And I want to try like Solid instead of React, right? I think Solid is probably going to be like a really bad one. So I don't know. Maybe I need like Vue or something. But uh, I want to see how far I can stretch that. So the thing that so this was the like the working version. So let's go back to my not working version. So I need to commit it somehow. Uh, because I was working on this like until like 3 a.m. last night, and like that shows all the crazy all the crazy stuff. Yeah. So I have a lot of like hydration issues with it. And it's like React doesn't give you like too much um too much tools how to deal with that. So yeah, it's a bit painful. You could still use HTMX with this. Yeah, so I don't want to. I think like React HTMX is like a fun thing to try, but this is not going to be like the part of this project. And I want to do server actions and all of that like React Server Components stuff where I can write my form completely in Go, but it's going to be like interactive on the client, right? So I can like that search form. Maybe I can make it so it returns search results completely on the server. You probably can't do that. So like I don't know. Like I want to play with that like more server action part. So like right now, like everything is done through like loaders, right? So it's like I can when I change my search, that is something that I'm like those versions that are compatible. I need to restart the terminal as well. Um, so when I change my so for some reason like hydration doesn't work. I don't know where I broke it. So when I'm changing URL, I just go to the server and it's just like, hey, what's the page for that URL? So and I want to do something like create, delete, and all that stuff, right? Is there something like Remix where I can write loaders and actions in Go, but everything else in JSX? Yes, so that's the idea of behind like those like bot style frameworks, and I think in PHP it's called inertia.js. So you write your kind of like loaders in PHP, and then you like kind of like pass it as props to React. And like I don't really care, but I'm sure that's what they're doing. Don't Yeah. Okay, I'm too lazy. I just I'm going to say that I'm too lazy to look into that. But I think that's in terms of like the real kind of like frameworks. I think I only know about like inertia, and I don't know like anything about it. I just know that it exists. Okay, so where do I call hydrate root? So I call it here. Why is it not hydrated? Right? So like why is this thing it's not clickable? I can see some stuff in components. So this is like strike island, right? Oh, I probably broke my uh, island detection. Yeah, that's what's happening. Sure. Yeah, I was like I was rewriting my serialization code. I looked at like I looked at a lot of that code. That's what Webpack is doing, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to do like I don't want to do like none of this stuff. What's where are the shortcuts? How do I do like exact minimum of all of this stuff? Yeah, yeah. I wish this thing it has to be either like the part of React or it has to be like a spec of like, and here are like 10 libraries that implement this thing because I don't like this. I think you can do better, and uh, this is going to be like one of those things again. It's like I just I know that I can do this like more JavaScript heavy part way of doing it, but I'm going to do like the simpler thing. Okay, so where do we do islands? So we have this is, by the way, this is how islands work right now. So it's like I have like three islands that are like I'm importing them, and when this strike island function is called, until it's rendered into it will just do until it's hydrated. It will just render the same HTML that we got from the server, so that like the hydration matches. But then once it's mounted, it will do the client rendering. Um, which is like not the right way to do that, but like this is how I did it, and it like just looks like, hey, do we have island with this name? And I do import them kind of like right away. I shouldn't be doing that. So like this is like the perfect place to kind of like to split bundles, but I had some like hydration issues with that, so it's like okay, I'll do it later. Yeah, like I don't like default exports. It's just what the Facebook code uses. I wrote this React lazily. This is like my most popular package on npm. And it's going down because I think just like more people are using the. This is like for create React app style applications, right? And just I'm just going to see the demise of client side client side React on this graph. Yeah, but it used to be like 15,000, which was pretty big. Why is Kent so famous? So he is. By the way, I know Kent. I'm in Utah right now, so like I met him a few times, and so the short version is that he wrote a lot of kind of like blog posts about React and about like all the kind of like best practices and stuff. It's like, how do I do this? It's like, okay, there's a Kent article that like explains how to do that. Like, and a lot of people would agree with like a lot of his blogs. It doesn't mean like everyone was agreeing with everything, but it was just like, oh, I can do the, like the Kent way or the other way. Yeah, so his blog, I don't know. It used to be like anything that you search about React, he would show up. But he also like was doing talks, was doing workshops, was like yeah, just like doing educational content, and yeah, he didn't do it like the like all the like buy my course people, right? It was a bit more yeah a bit more interesting, and he had a lot of like free content, right? So he did sell his course, and he probably made a lot of money on it, but uh, yeah, just just a lot of like free, pretty like high quality, like at the right place at the right time kind of thing. It's like, oh, everyone's thinking like what I don't know state management I should use, and he will write on like an article of like what are the state management options in React and stuff like that. So yeah, and he was like one of the early users. I think he's my age pretty much, and as soon as he graduated, I think he worked as like Angular developer. And like a year or two after that, like React came out, and so yeah, so he was pretty young, not like many years of experience, but he was like excited about all of that stuff, and he was sharing a lot of his stuff because like for senior developers, it's like, oh, I work all day. Do I need to like do I need to talk about my about my work and all that stuff? So I think maybe that just like young enthusiasm or whatever like allowed him to do his like full-time job at PayPal, where they were rewriting everything to React at that time, and it was client-side React, like create React app kind of like style. So he wrote, yeah, a lot of articles about like how he was doing all of this stuff. So it was like, oh, this guy who's like excited and he's doing pretty like interesting stuff and like publishing everything about himself. Oh, that's the guy to follow. So that's like my that's like my understanding of like the Kant phenomena. Yeah, and a lot of people who were like early on React, they had some like careers before then, and they already had some kind of like reputation of this guy who wrote like this jQuery plugin, this guy who was like big in Ember community and all that stuff. So uh, a lot of them were already kind of like names. Yeah, but Kent kind of like made his name together with React. um, People like to make idols. Well, yeah, I think I don't know if Kent has that, or he probably does, but like the ones that I don't like, it's the like people who like even you is like no matter what's happening, it's like yeah, even you. It's like why even you? I don't know, like even you. Okay, yeah, that one is a bit cringe, but again, maybe it's like if I was in that community, it would be fine. Um, didn't he also write Downshift.js? Not sure what Downshift.js. I know that he wrote like some pretty popular back in the day CSS and JS library, which again, like I don't use, so like I don't care what's happening there. And I know that he wrote. Okay, what's Downshift.js? Could you be, yeah, I don't know any of those people, at least from that small an avatar. Um, uh, okay, so okay, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, so he had some kind of like CSS and JS library. He used to have some like CLI tool. It was for like environment variables or like some kind of like tool where you want to like write a like script that removes a folder, but if you write it, it will only work on Linux and not on Mac and not on Windows and all that stuff. I think he had like some kind of like script that would like rewrite stuff for like different operating systems or something like that. Yeah, I think a lot of his open source stuff he kind of like closed. The only living project that I know is like his testing library, and I'm pretty sure it's like maintained by someone else right now, but it's still like exists. Um, yeah, why do you read second? Yeah, I mean React didn't have like any docs, and like right now, if you want to learn about React server components, you have to go to next.js website, right? So they have huge problem with docs, and uh, it used to be better. Like I remember back in the day, like I would check like every few days. I would go to React blog and check if they like published anything new. And it's like, what did they publish in like last 5 years? Right? It's like nothing. So it's definitely just like much more interesting to follow someone like Jack Harrington that is going to make like a funny video about like new React hooks, then try to get that from docs. So I don't blame anyone, any of them. Okay, so we know that our island is just rendered as this like strike island tag, and if you look at how it's rendered in the um, if you look how it's rendered in HTML, it's also rendered as a strike island, uh, which is fine. It would be cool if it wouldn't create like a element for it, because it messes up with CSS a bit and all that stuff. But yeah, this is just what I this is what I did. And the way that strike islands are, uh, the way that they are done is that you have this thing like rendered in HTML, and I replace it with a component that renders the same HTML until it's mounted, at least. uh, yeah, yeah. So it takes the whole node and puts it in a strike element. Okay, and this is like the old code, like I don't use anymore, and this is like the new code. So the new code is the one that is doing like all of this stuff. So uh, I can also do this. So if the tag is strike island, I just use strike suspend. I just use strike island component. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I should be doing the the children stuff, because that's what allows me to do that like fallback. But it's probably better to do that fallback through suspense. So like I don't know how I don't know how to properly do that yet. But it should be like client suspense, not the server suspense that I have right now. Uh, are you and Dan from the same country? Uh, I want to understand your argument with Dan more thoroughly. I don't know what you mean. My argument with Dan. What do you say? But yeah, so Dan is from Russia. I'm from Russia. We moved from Russia probably at the same time. Maybe Dan moved like a few years before. I don't remember those details. Maybe later. Like I don't remember. I know that he got his job at Facebook when he was at one of the like first React conferences, and I was already in United States when that happened. So yeah, I don't remember. You said it was funny. He said it's getting out of hand. Oh yeah, on Twitter, where uh, what was it? Weren't they complaining about dogs or something? That like, yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, no dogs for hooks for 5 years, but like that. Yeah. So the joke was that we don't have docs for React Server components. What do you expect? We didn't have docs for hooks either, which is like not true, because of course they did, right? So like as I said, like I was checking that blog like every few days. Uh, so of course they did. They just like their documentation until like really like a few months ago, right? It was like, here's the React, here's the class components, and here's the hooks. So you have to like learn everything to get to the point where the current state is. And it like it felt silly. It felt silly. So when they released hooks, they were actually like pretty uh but they were doing everything safely. They were afraid that no one will use them. It was like a real fear. So like everyone from React team, they were like, "Oh, hooks, it's like don't worry about it. Yeah, we have hooks. It's like, there are like a few features that are like fun from hooks, like context, but like, yeah, don't worry about hooks too much." So it was like a real thing for them, and they were afraid of like fracturing the ecosystem and stuff. It's like it's like back in the day you would go to like a project and like say, hey, why doesn't it have TypeScript types? Is it even maintained yet? So they didn't want everyone to go and like hey, why is it using client component? Oh, class components like isn't even maintained yet. And uh, yeah, because before class components, we had like other way of writing React classes, and like from that one to classes, it was like, yes, it is compatible. Yes, you can use the old one, but we're going to deprecate the old one. So it was like really, it was like, yeah, this is clearly better. We have to go like that way anyway. Um, so hooks, they were much more safer. I would even say that like React Store components are pushed more compared to hooks. Hooks were like they were not sure if it's going to fly, uh, and maybe if they would like rewrite docs and they wouldn't like mention class components and everything was in hooks, maybe it would have hurt like the hooks adoption, because maybe if they didn't play this as safe, more people would have been more upset. But yeah, after like a year or two, right? It was silly that like the docs were going through class components, even though like the whole ecosystem moved to hooks. Like, yeah, the fear that you had, like it passed. Can you please update docs? And they're like, yes, we're working on new docs. Sorry that it took 5 years. Yeah. So I think my joke was fine. I understand that for them it wasn't as fun because they just released this new website that was launched like a month ago and it's already outdated. You don't want to hear that. even though even though like it's not outdated and the previous website wasn't like completely bad, but you can still say, hey, this is outdated and this was bad. So yeah, it just, I understand why it wasn't like it wasn't fun to hear that. And uh I also think that someone needed to say that it was frustrating to kind of like to get that. uh Which is again, like everyone is saying how good Vue docs are, and I have a stream of like multiple parts where I try to use Vue. Where was it? It was back in the day. Uh, yeah, so part three. Yeah, so it's like all of those streams. It's like, yeah, this is like 6 hours of me just like trying to read docs, like being frustrated that like it doesn't make any sense. And those are like the best docs in the industry, right? So docs are never good, and but I understand why you don't want to hear that your docs are not good. Okay, so uh, okay, so we want to make islands work. Uh, those islands are done in a bit of funny way, and uh, because they're because they need how do I say it? I'm using island children in kind of like two ways, so it's a bit silly, but yeah, this is this is what I'm doing, and uh, so let's just, I don't know. Let's just try to, yeah. I'm basically like I'm picking stuff from children prop, and I probably should I should have like props like that. Uh, I'm customized for niche market. I don't know. Like how do I say it? People are like too sensitive on the internet. Uh, I appreciate how like Primeagen is just like Yeah, I will never convince everyone. It's like, yeah, it's not nice when you see like the whole Twitter like arguing about something like you haven't even said. But it's like, how can I fix that? And I'm kind of like the same. It's silly to try to it's silly to try to convince like everyone that you're right. It's like, who cares? Like I don't care. How to say it? Whenever I see something on the internet, like I don't want to contact that person and just like make him convince me that he's right. It's like, who cares? Like I can just like scroll by and look for something else. And I understand that some people are really, uh, how to say it? Some people are really invested in having whatever like spotless reputation, or like they have to be always right. And it's like, I don't know. My thing is like, I'm not always right. Like I do some stuff that are like, oops, that wasn't okay. But what am I? Uh, yeah, I mean, it was a bit upsetting when it was happening, and in the moment when like everyone on like React team was like, "Oh, you're like the problem of like why like I don't know like Dan quit his job and stuff like that." It's like, like how fragile is your project, right? If like one person one person saying something online can like break everything. So it's like, I don't know, it says more about like your project than about me. um uh yeah, so I think it's fine. I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't think like that Dan is like waking up in nightmares. It's like, whatever did like JLarky say on his Twitter. It's just, it was a thing. It passed and he moved on, right? So it's like, yeah, it was a bit upsetting that like whole React team decided that like I'm React hater. It passed. Like they don't remember that. So like the thing about like Primeagen and Node.js, like they will forget about it. It's fine. Okay, we have some questions on kick.com, which I still stream on, but I don't think it's going to be too good. Okay, when Primeagen stream pop up in Hacker News. Uh, yeah, Primeagen has oh yeah, I guess like you can't see that on the stream because I like it. Okay, and this one doesn't work. Okay, cool. Message disappeared. Great. Okay. I guess I can maybe show it like that. Okay, yeah. So uh yeah, so like Primeagen has like all his like voices and like and like that over emotive thing. This is what you have to do if you want to be like the number one streamer. How like, no matter how unfortunate it is to say, but like unless you're doing this, no one is going to watch you. And yeah, that's why like Ryan Corniado, who's like talking about everything like calmly and all that stuff, he's never going to get like 1,000 viewers, right? He will get viewers who are like uh interested in some like, oh, how does hydration work, right? And they go and like watch his one video. But Primeagen will have people who are just like, just every day, just like with their coffee or something, they will just like watch a Primeagen video. It doesn't matter about what it is, right? They're just like watching Primeagen video, and that's a different kind of like thing. Yeah, Hacker News is fun. We had like a few lunches on Hacker News, and it was always like, what are you going to complain like this time? Yeah, it's a community. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Primogens is I don't know. I wonder what I was going to say. So is it's a, like a funny consideration, right? Are you going to be sincere in your videos, or are you going to be like fake in your videos? And it's definitely like a, oh, thank you for the follow.
Ricky Rocket is now following.
Right. So it's a guy from kick.com. He switched to Twitch. Yeah. So uh, what I was going to say, it's a funny balance. There's this guy. Don't even remember his name. Right. Verity. Or was it? I don't even remember like the. Okay, let me. I don't want to show my YouTube history. uh, what was the thing? Okay, yeah, it's going to be hard to find it. But there is this guy like who's doing like TikToks and stuff, and he's like, I just want to turn on camera for like 30 minutes and let you see me kind of like unedited, right? So like this is the guy.
The pursuit of
Yeah, this is the guy uh, who like his only content is like I don't know, like 30 seconds clips, right? And he's like, you don't know me. I don't know how much like of my stuff I should be doing online. So yeah, it's an interesting balance, because if you're like not, if everything is about you, no one is going to watch it, and if nothing is about you, no one is going to watch it. So it's definitely like a balance that you need to do. But yeah, authenticity. Okay, I wasn't sure what word. uh, you're thinking about streaming on Kick? Yeah. So what I use is I have this like OBS plugin that allows me to stream to multiple things, because I have like a wired internet here. I have like a and pretty like a beefy laptop. I can stream to probably like 10 places before it gets slow. So yeah, so but restream is also good. So you can, but for restream you have to like pay if you stream to more than two places. So I use restream to stream to Twitch and Twitter, and I use this plugin to stream to Kick, but I also use uh, like in OBS, I stream to YouTube in like in better quality. And yeah, because you have to like use different resolutions and different quality for like all of them. I'm like compressing like four streams at the same time. So it's like yeah, this computer is good. Yeah, my other one is like when I just like open VS Code, it was just like die. So I only started streaming for real once I got this computer. But yeah, yeah, I see that on Kick. I see like I saw one guy who is uh I think he was streaming View or something. He had like a few viewers, and I know one guy from Twitch that streams to Kick, right? Like I only saw him today, so uh, yeah. I wonder if some content, some like tech content, people are going to move to Kick, because it's just like, if there is no viewers, why do I stream? If there is like no streamers, why do I watch? So it's a like a hard thing. And like I asked my Twitter followers, who's like 5,000 followers, right? I'll ask, hey guys, can you follow me? And I got like 5 followers. So it's like it's hard to convert people there. Yeah. Okay. uh, Creating it like the whole identities to stream. So I created new user account like locally on the computer, so that like I don't have like any of my files open, I don't have my like tabs open, all that stuff. Like I created a new email. I created like I created kind of like everything from kind of like the same thinking was like, okay, let me just start doing it. And yeah, like after I don't know, like 5 streams, I switched to my like usual account and all of that stuff. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. It was definitely a thing when I was starting, but now like I don't care as much. Yeah, you're gonna create like a new email on Gmail and like just all of the new accounts for that email. That's easy. Yeah, in Linux, you just copied like .config folder or whatever. It usually gets you like 90% there. Okay, so we have this strike island now, and where do I log it? Yeah, all of this is like during the props is not defined. Okay, am I using the wrong syntax? Yeah, I haven't wrote in JavaScript so long, so like I don't even remember the syntax. Okay, yeah. So we have this thing where yeah. So before we used to have this strike island thing, and yeah. So I wonder if yeah. So I wonder what happens if I just try to render it right away. Yeah. So right. Okay. Why don't I have component export? Yeah. So it's not children props. It's just props. Okay. So and our written React is vanilla.js. Yeah, it's not that scary, right? So like this is this is React and vanilla.js. I actually like started to learn how to do JS doc because every time I do JS doc, it's like doesn't make any sense. And like it doesn't work. Why, or like what is happening? So like the way that they do it is you go to something like this. So it's like you just like define your types, define your functions, and then you just go uh, and for each function you just like import function definition from that file, import function definition from that file. So it's like this path is now string. You can try to do this like params, path, string, all that stuff. But it's like it's so tedious and like it doesn't work. So like this like TSX trick is actually like pretty good. So uh, yeah, yeah. So like about like SPAs and like SSR, right? So like I don't use SSR here. So it's more like SPA at the moment. But I wanna play with that and maybe do it after some point. Okay, so we have uh, Strike Island. Strike Island. Okay, so if we just render Strike Island, it should work, right? But it should give us the hydration warning because our um, our client state is in the yeah. So it just returns. Yeah, so it just returns strike island tag, right? But this strike island tag doesn't match right. island. So it doesn't match all of those fields. So it's like it needs to have the same children. So it's do I just do props? I wonder if that's going to work. Okay, so refresh. Okay, so kind of works, kind of doesn't. So what's happening? I have a strike island, and I have a form that should be good. So yeah, so I'm using right. So this is what I should be returning if I'm not mounted. And if I'm mounted, I'm doing this. And okay, I should have like saved what I was good to do. Uh, yeah, so I should be doing this part, but then I need to wrap my children and all this stuff. So I'm going to say that it's props, but for those props, I do children, and then I do yeah. So the component is the like the island function. So like it's going to be edit button and so on. And if I do yeah children props yeah. So how do I need to get okay that's the wrong function yeah. So this one right. So I need to get uh I need to get those children's okay. I guess it's just this. Okay. Okay. Yay. We fixed silence. Yeah. This like workflow is not the best because they're like oh they're like it didn't match. That's all that you get. Um. You missed all the bad things with React and started with Vite. Yeah. That's a lucky place to be. Uh. Yeah. Prop types was fun. We started using TypeScript before we started using React, so like it wasn't a thing for us. Uh, class components. Yeah. Don't remember if I use class components here. I guess like error boundaries still have to be class components as of this moment. So okay, so we fixed islands. That was fun. I guess the question is, will it work if I go it right away without waiting for hydration? The answer is no. Okay, okay, we're not going to tempt our fate too much. Okay, so so this is oh yeah, I also did this thing so that um, that like hydration JSON. I'm I added it to the HTML just to like see the shape and stuff. Uh, yeah, yeah. I wonder how I can like reuse them because it's like I can't I can't find a way to pretty print this one, but I want it to be shown for kind of like debug stuff. So yeah, yeah. The problem with this branch is that like I have so many changes now. I have so many console logs. Okay. Yeah, so the unique key one is actually a bug with bun. and I posted about it. And yeah, hopefully we will hear it fixed. Okay, so yeah, so I need to get rid of some of the console logs. I also do them on the server, and it's not as easy to find them on the server because like I have no idea what is printing it. Yeah, so that's going to be fun. So page, okay. So I guess it has word page in it. So page URL, page. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, I was doing that for like to make sure that it's used. So let me remove this. Uh, yeah. So I wasn't sure how to write that. I think that's the right way to write it. And yeah, this template. I should write. I should add some kind of like debug flag, but I don't know how to do it properly in Go. Uh, I guess I can just do this. Just do debug JSX. You're writing code to transform JSON into React elements. I have side project basically. I wish I could end my work on that. Yeah, so uh, I was going to work on streaming, and I still have like 30 minutes to look into that. But I had so much stuff. Uh, had so much stuff not working. So yeah, so like this one, right? Non-skeleton. So like uh, this should be like it's small n because it's an internal module. Otherwise, you will not get the warning that it's not used. So should get yeah. So and suspense, I redid suspense. It used to be just a tag that wasn't doing much. So this should be app. This should be island. This should be router. Okay. So don't need any of this stuff anymore. Yeah, so like some of this stuff is also not needed, but I don't remember what. So we remove this one now. I think it became a bit cleaner once we removed it. So yeah, so we don't want this anymore. Yeah, I don't want to learn how to use context and stuff. So okay. So now age, yeah, age we changed a lot. Just keeping children now, finally. And yeah, so tests have changed because of we changed the shape. I was doing children separately because it was like, oh, if it's children, then it's a component, but it's like a wrong way of doing it. Instead, I'm doing this like yeah, this one I haven't written properly yet, and this one's going to be like a bit of a yeah. This one is going to be tricky to turn this to something proper. Uh, yeah, so instead, now for component, I define the Marshall JSON function and I just mark it as this kind of like string. So it's not as good as what React does because in React they have like a completely So you can serialize anything. In my case, it's like there is like a special thing how to serialize components, and user can technically just create this JSON object, and we will kind of like erroneously will try to serialize it as a component. But at that point, it's like, okay, that's just the limitation of how we implemented it. I'm not going to make my I'm not going to make my code this, right? So it's like, I don't know, 3,000 lines. Yeah, I don't want to write 3,000 lines uh, just to fix this one kind of like use case. Okay, so we fixed tests. We did this. We did this. I don't think I use a sync yet. Let me just like comment it out and just see if it compiles. Yeah, I don't think we use a sync yet. We don't use this one yet. I don't know if we use islands yet. Yeah, I don't think we use islands either. We do use suspense. So the suspense is the, yeah. The suspense is the new one. So I should add suspense. I don't know what I'm going to do with islands and with the sync. So yeah, but for now, okay. So the idea is like the big thing is like new way of serializing components uh, uh, by using Marshall JSON for component type. We are marking it as a React component. Then uh, uh, work islands and suspense tags. Okay, I don't want to write much more than that for now. Okay, I'm missing some. So 3,000 lines in JS, probably twice that in Go. Yeah, so that's the interesting part about suspense that I'm trying to figure out is like how do you share that like state or context, because like in JavaScript you can write some stuff like I have context and it's like a value, and then I call some function and I just read context. It's like, yeah, this function is changing that context. That's fine. Like that's like normal code. It's like, but why aren't you passing it? Oh, it's like you don't have to worry about that stuff in JavaScript. It's like, yeah, but you have to worry about the stuff in Go. So so here's the deal, right? So I have this. I guess how do I do that? So when I type something here in search, I get stuff from the server, and what server returns right now is um, where is it? Yeah. So what server returns right now is like uh, the same the same thing that it returns on. Uh, okay, how do I how am I going to say it? Uh, so when I do search, I'm going to the server to get new payload, and if this payload is okay, this one file, this one, right? Suspense. Okay, do I have compilation errors? What's happening? No. Why is it complaining? Not required. Okay. Uh, okay, how is it not required? It's clearly required here, right? Okay, sometimes you just need to like restart it a bit. But not import. Oh, yeah, that's because I changed this file, right? Okay, start, go, restart. It's just like JavaScript, right? You have to restart your language server from time to time. Okay, so I have this like node skeleton, but let's say that I would have had node list instead. Okay, lost where it was. Okay, so it's no where is it? Node list. It returns component. So if I have node list and pass URL there, okay, probably not going to compile. Oh no, it did. Okay. So now if I change something, you see the results, right? Oh, it's interesting that it's jumping around. I wouldn't expect it to jump around. Yeah, because the JavaScript one, did I kill it? Is it working? I guess I like put it in yeah. I don't know if it's jumping around. Like let's ignore it for now. But uh I can do this stuff, right? And the problem is like what if node list takes some time to search, right? So it's like uh, cloud, right? So it takes sometimes on the server for you to get the result, and uh, I want initial render of the page be fast, but then I want to resolve all the promises. And um, if I use next.js and that page takes some time to resolve, if I click on it, this uh, this like oh yeah, I don't know why it's like not showing it, uh, but this request that I did, it was actually streaming, so it didn't return everything in one go. It returned like initial state, so this one is loading, and then it was waiting for those things to be resolved. And I'm not entirely sure how that works when I navigate like back again. So where's my? So this is test page. If I'm here and I have a link back to home, and then I go back here, right? You see that it's resolved. So I'm not waiting the second time around. And I don't know how they do that. And like I don't know if I should be doing that. But if I don't do that, it will be messy as well. So it's like it will reset some state. So this is the this is the holy grail, right? So like how do we do streaming? And so the first part is this um, how do I do streaming when may how do I do streaming when returning JSON? So what I could be doing is that I could just say that hey, when I'm doing JSON, where's the node list? So when I'm turning that, so I create this application, right? Uh, yeah, like page. I create this page, and then I try to marshal this page, what I could be doing is that I can say that, hey, when I'm converting to JSON, I just resolve all the promises. Like I don't wait for streaming stuff. I just resolve them all the time, and uh, that's an option. You can do that, uh, but it would be cooler if I can turn stuff in JSON and for promises. So I need to have some special uh, promise class. So this is what I was going with going to do with the sync. I don't know if like a sync is the best name for that, but it's just yeah. I was thinking in Go they have channels, so maybe like the type should be just like channel. Um, okay, I'm trying to slay like too many things at the same time. So if I navigate to the page, so let's say like this page, I can I can copy this page scroll, and I can remove everything from this page. Actually, so I only need yeah, so I only need URL, and I only need the RSC header. Yeah, so this one. Okay, so now you see that this page is like taking a long time. It's like waiting, and then it's resolved. If I have a shorter name, right, it will resolve shorter. So it could be like a fine way of just like, oh yeah, if you go into the other page and it requires like a long time to resolve, yeah, just wait for it. So the uh, so also what I could be doing is I could be using skeleton, right? So if I have skeleton, and if I go to no matter the page size, right, it can return skeleton right away. Um, but it should also return uh, something. So when I have this suspense, uh, the the okay, how do I do it? So so what is happening when I render suspense? So I try to get fallback, and I that's when that's what happens when I do. That's what happens when I do server rendering. So I render the fallback component, fallback prop of suspense tag. And this is what gets sent to HTML, and this is what I need to render on the first iteration step. But then, uh, once I have, so like in the HTML that I send, I'm not sending the what I said. So I sent the HTML for fallback, but like all the information about this suspenseful part has been lost. So what I was going to do is I was going to just copy everything as is, and yeah, I wonder if I should remove this part now. But yeah, so I just copy everything as is, and render the stream stuff. And okay, let me. Okay, so copy one. Should probably push stuff. Yeah, forget to do that. So, but now when I render to stream, I don't want to resolve right away. I want to do this. So I render this, but I will also do something like that. So I do uh I want to learn how to do that. So like if uh hmm. So what is going to happen if I just do write I don't know, template hello and template, right? So what is going to happen? And I just do that, and I go to like view source. Hello, where's hello? Okay, this is that code that requires to restart it. I don't know how to fix it. Okay, don't see anything. Okay, should I see something? Oh yeah, I don't call the render to stream function yet. So this is in the strike nodes where I call render to string. Yeah. So instead of to string, I'm rendering to string. So this one doesn't require hello. Okay, still didn't work. Okay. Uh, okay. So why didn't it work? Let's do. Yeah, let's just add some debugging. Yeah, I don't see debugging. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, so let's start with simple. So can I do anything? Yes, I can. So can I do suspense? No. Okay. So it's not suspense. Okay. Um, why is it not suspense? Okay, so we have suspense here. Why is it not triggering? Okay, so need to restart it? No. Okay. This is why it's so hard to stream this stuff because it's like I don't know what's happening. Um, okay, so okay, so let's start with comp tag name. Is it tag name by the way? Okay, fallback HTML. Okay, what about all the other stuff? Still works here, right? Fallback HTML. Oh, I see. I see. So, yeah. So I call like recursively uh, to the same function, and I should be calling the render to stream function. So it renders one tag and just like quits. Okay. Okay, that's a bit easier. Okay, so and now do you render suspense? Okay, I need to restart it. Do you render suspense? Yes, it does. Okay. Now hello. Okay. So I can render this thing before rendering fallback. So the problem with rendering this thing is that now it will break all the hydration stuff. So how do I render this but at some later point? So what I can do is I can I don't even know how to do it. But like let's say that I can go func, right? And it's like, yeah, just call this function at some later point. So it's like it's not longer going to be like here in the nav. It's going to be like somewhere. Okay, where is it? Where is it now? So it's like, okay, it's under URL now. If I add time sleep, I don't know, 10 milliseconds, it's going to be like some other place. Okay, so what happened now is that it actually rendered too fast, and we closed the stream. So where I call render to stream, I can time sleep 100 milliseconds. If I refresh now, so this is where my stuff went, and it's actually like not that bad, right? So uh, I can turn my template into script now, and it will actually like run. So it runs now like too early. So if I want to do it like after this script, for example, and it's like okay, execute. Okay, sure. So like let's wait here, and I refresh it, and now this template is almost at the last line. What's making it not at the last line? Oh, okay, this one. Okay, so let's just do like after this one. Okay. Okay, so now let's do. Yeah, now it's at the end of this, right? So it's not bad. I can. Where is the? Okay. Yeah, so I can slash add. Yeah, so I can send some data here. So like, okay, what data? Well, the data from. Uh, so we need to have. So suspense tag need to have some data that is not sent uh, not sent as JSON, not sent as HTML, but is still there. So in a component, we can probably create a tag that is like uh, so it's type, it's props, and it's yeah. So let's say that we have types, props, and I don't know, state. And state is not going to go to JSON. It's going to be just some state. Maybe even props. I think props is a okay. State state type props. Okay, this is let's say that it's like hidden props, something like that. So we have this, and if I do how do how do I even do that? So when I do suspense, I want my yeah, I just want to say something in hidden props. So it's like hidden props uh, test equals test. Okay, that's a fun start. So I can do this. I can refresh, and it's crashing. Okay. Why are we crashing? So assignment to entry in nil map. Okay. So the map wasn't initialized. To be honest, I have no idea how that works. So uh, check if map is set. If comp hidden props is nil. Is it? Is it make? Probably just this, right? Okay. Let's restart. Actually, I didn't have to restart. Okay, so now I have this. So the when we're doing to Marshall, I can do something like this. So if this thing has hidden props, I want to debug it. So refresh it, and here's my thing with hidden props. Like, what can I put in hidden props? So the what I'm thinking is that skeleton, whatever thing was, node list skeleton. So where I have node list skeleton, the problem is that put um, if I put uh, anything, and that anything is going to be node list, right? So if I add node list to props, now if I reload, it takes a long time, right? Like it tries to resolve that thing. So if I uh, yeah, I don't need this to be props. This is going to be children. That's suspense. Okay, I think my like my parentheses. Okay. Okay, so I have suspense, and that suspense has uh, fallback, and then it has children. Yeah. So the thing about children, if I do it like that, now it takes a long time to resolve this uh, all of this stuff. It would be cool if node list would have return. Uh, it would be cool if node list would not return a component, but it would return some kind of like promise of component. And yeah, so the way that we can do that is we can create a function that returns a component. And okay, so now if I refresh, okay, it still tries to resolve it. We need to go to back to our this thing, and where do we have a function that returns a component? Okay, this one. So I don't call this function. So I just like continue. Do I? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's just comment this out. So like if I get a function that returns a component, I just don't do anything. Then if I refresh it, Okay, it still takes a long time. Okay, so maybe that's not the function that does this. Okay, so I have props. Oh, those props. Okay, so this is not what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is that, like in Suspense, where we have our hidden props and stuff, I'm going to say that component uh, props are going to be like empty map. I'm going to remove. I need to restart it. So I'm going to remove it from. Yeah, it still resolves it. Okay. Okay. Let me just name what I'm going to try. Is I want to make it so that when yeah, I guess like panic 1 2 3, right? Like who's calling me? Okay. I did this. I refresh. Interesting. So no one is calling me. Oh, it didn't compile. What did I forget? This? Okay. The refresh. Yeah, so now it's instant. And we don't render anything. So if I go back to Suspense, I don't want to reset props. Okay, so it can't. Yeah, so error count. Yeah, unsupported type function to component. Right. So if I reset children to nil, and if I set children to hidden prop, okay, right. So you see that either rendered right away because it doesn't need to render. It doesn't need to render that prop anymore. Uh, it can't render it right now because like I added panic, but they like we pass children, but we don't use it when converting to JSON or HTML, but we still have access to it, so that when we render to stream, where was our like template? Where's yeah? So here we can go to uh, hidden. We can go to component hidden props later once it's resolved, right? And we can still put it in stream. So this is we can go to hidden props. We can resolve all the hidden props and send it somehow. Uh, and if you write kind of like client to know that this could happen, we can send promises over the wire. So the problem is that first of all is that we don't know if this render to stream has finished. So where we do that like sleep thing, yeah, this one. So instead of doing sleep, we should be doing something like done or whatever, right? So we should be waiting for some signal that initial rendering has ended. Now, I don't know. I think they call it skeleton done, right? So skeleton is done. We can uh, we should probably do skeleton done like here. So once skeleton is done, we are waiting for everything else to happen, and that's where you say like uh, stream done, right? So like once stream has ended, we can finish the request, we can close it, but until that happens, like we can't. And we need to wait for skeleton done, otherwise we're going to put our thing like inside of the as you saw, right? We were going through like the HTML and to like put something there, and it's like, oh, now like hydration doesn't work because it's a mismatch of hydration. So we need to do it not too late when the connection is already closed, but not too early when we haven't sent the hydrated document yet. So where we do like all of the script stuff and all that stuff, that's that's where we can do it. So okay, I couldn't like do anything, any of that stuff today, but I guess that's at least I described a bit of what's going on. Okay, have to run. Thanks, everyone. And I should learn to like rate people, but eventually, eventually.